Hey, 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 welcome back to Drive Time. I am your host, Craig Pasta Jardula, and we do it live, bringing you all the hot takes, headlines, and unfiltered opinions that matter most. Whether you're stuck in traffic, cruising to work, or just chilling at home, we want to hear from you. Today's topics are all about the big stories making waves, but we're not just here to talk at you. We want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, and your take on everything from the latest political debates to the everyday challenges we face. Remember, whether you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in between, we welcome all points of view. So grab that hands-free device, dial us up, and let's dive into the conversation. What's on your mind? It's Drive Time. Call in now. Well, good morning, Mr. Andrew. How are you? Ooh, the blood moon got me.
My hair is big and floofy today. Started using a new conditioner.
Look at that hair. There's a reason why they call him Rasputin Jesus. All right, so the mic is on properly. Everything looks good. Did you see the blood moon last night? That's the question.
No, I didn't actually. I didn't. From where I sit, I can't see the moon on my patio. I'd have to go outside and walk to the other side of the building.
And that you just weren't having it, huh?
Yeah, wasn't having. I didn't even know there was one, honestly.
Yeah, everybody's been talking about one. You know, like in the ancient civilizations, this was a bad one, a blood moon. This is I guess more sacrifices for a Mel Gibson movie. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. It's great to wake up to you and stuff. I'm about to have that first sip of coffee. Andrews doesn't drink coffee. We established this, right?
No, yes, I do. I can drink coffee again. My gut's doing a lot better. I got my green eggs and ham cup right here.
Salute. I got the Morton salt, which was then again used for the ice thing. And I was like, damn, why didn't they have these fuck ice mugs over in Minnesota when I was out there?
I don't know. That'd have been funny though. They don't think that creatively.
Gabriel Freedom, our executive producer, in the chat talking about the Pisces last night. We're going to actually do a Truth Wire today, me and Fiorella later on today around 12:30. And she was talking about that last night too as well, about the Pisces and stuff. Full moon in Pisces. What do you got for us today, Andrew? What's been going on in your world, in your life? What are your immediate concerns? Who are you going to stalk on the Ohio City Council out there? What's going on?
I don't know. So, one of the things I noticed is that on Twitter, flock content has almost disappeared now for some reason. I don't know if you've noticed that or if it's just my follow feed.
But I have Jason Bassler, so no matter what.
I do too, but it's not showing him to me. Before, I used to see if someone made a flock post, it would show up even just in my feed.
What you need to do is do your following, and if you put the little arrow, go by most recent, and you'll actually show you your shit.
Yeah, that's the only way I do it. That's the only way I ever get Twitter.
But yeah, they hide. Dude, that's why I don't spend much time on Twitter, man. They just silo the fuck out of you, and it's usually siloing you with crap that's just going to piss you off. Yeah. So it suits no purpose for me anymore.
I agree. But that's just one of the things I started noticing in the last 2 days. You
know why that is because people started saying, "Hey, here's where the flock CEO lives. You guys should squat outside his house."
Yeah, no, I noticed that.
So I think that might have something. Now they're just going to be like, "Oh, it's public. You're threatening. You're threatening a person in the public. We have to censor you now."
Right?
You're another Luigi Mangione
This person
case.
No longer has privacy. Thanks.
I'm like, well, we don't get no privacy. Why the fuck does this guy get privacy?
Yeah, I'm still not a fan of doxing for what it's worth. I know that some people do, and you do you or whatever. But just me personally, I think if we use that strategy, then it's okay for them to use it against us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but I don't know. I remember when Assange people were posted outside Merrick Garland's
Yeah.
So, it's a valid tactic sometimes.
Oh yeah. There's definitely a way to do it like responsibly if it's like a group organizing a protest.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't think randos should be parked out in front of his house, like stalking him. That's a little.
Right. I mean, maybe
much.
they should. Maybe they should. Maybe
I don't
that
know.
would be.
So it was the People's City Council is the group that used to organize when they were going, and I forgot that dude's name. What's the Italian guy who was the mayor of LA for a while? Who also was thinking about running for president at one point. Man, Garcetti? Was that his name?
I know that name, so maybe.
Yeah, I think it was Mayor Garcetti, and they organized protest out in front of that guy's house. And that shit was pretty interesting. That was fun.
It's definitely a good way to make people uncomfortable, for real.
Dude, I can only imagine. And there was good reasons why they were doing it. And there was good reasons why they should be out in front of the flock camera CEO guy's house. Because that's what's going on. That's the reason why. I thought that Elon Musk has come around. How often have you seen him made a post about Flock? Never even talked about it. Like,
please, he's got Starlink. You don't think that shit's being used up there for nefarious reasons? We know it is. So
yeah, and he's a technocrat. Like just because he pretends to be on a different team doesn't mean that he wouldn't default back to like.
I mean, he's still one of those transhumanist weirdos. Like, he wants to put chips in our brain, and
want to.
I don't want no damn chip in my brain.
Just a Neuralink. That's it.
Yeah, fuck off.
Klaus Schwab, wouldn't it be good when you're across the room and you don't even have to speak? But I know.
Hello, my slaves.
Eric. Hello.
We need that guy again. I like that guy, man. He's funny.
He didn't even do it once last time.
I know, but like he's. I don't know that guy. I like talking to that guy. He was interesting.
He's funny too, and he always like that guy looks like me. I don't know who he is. He's such a pest. And he does his whole little shtick. Uncle Brother's there. I see Dave. You're there. Thank you all for joining. Every day we grow in the show. It's amazing, right? So we got 22 people hanging on YouTube. We got 11 people right now on Rumble. So 33 people out of the gate. I just stumbled into the show last night. Since it was a blood moon, I thought you're supposed to drink red wine to be safe from it. So I drank extra red wine to make sure that I was extra safe from the blood moon.
I slept through the whole damn thing. So
what's that, Sleepy?
I said I slept through the whole damn thing.
I woke up. We're still at war. We're still $40 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
Still got cameras everywhere. So like whatever wuju they can throw at us next. I don't want to say it can't be worse, but
of course
it's pretty bad. I mean, it's pretty bad right now.
Yeah.
Like talking to a real estate broker yesterday, talking to a money manager and everything. There's also like a sense of uncertainty. I don't know if you guys been following the whole situation, but the CIA went to Moscow, right? Ratcliffe went to Moscow. We're going to be talking about this today. Things are not good anywhere. It feels like I don't know, and there's people out there like Don, we were talking briefly. Some people feel like there's like a war amongst the elites, right? To who gets control, and different groups of elites are kind of have at it right now. But why would they go to Moscow? You know what I'm saying? Why would Moscow receive them? What was going on? Something serious going to happen? Good.
I think there is like two major options, possibly three. But the first one is like surrender in Ukraine to devote military resources and like money and actual missiles to fighting with Iran. I think that's the first option. I think the second option is trying to keep the wars divided, even though they're so regionally close, right? Because like there's literally a waterway that can connect between Ukraine and Iran. So I think that's one possibility. And the third possibility is, and this is like the worst one, is like the nuclear option, right? Where they're going to meet with the heads of these intelligence, where Ratcliffe went and met with the head of whatever, I don't want to call it KGB, but whatever
FSB
is. Yeah, FSB. to say like, hey, there may be a nuclear strike in Iran carried out by Israel, and we don't want it to escalate further than those single strike or strikes. I think those are the three main options, because we're at a point where like Ukraine is desperate because they've just literally murdered like anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million of their own people in the war effort. People don't want to actually be conscripted, at least for what I see.
Well, they're starting to conscript women now, so
yeah, they're desperate. They're conscripting old men. They're conscripting women. They're just out of people, right? Out of people willing to fight the war. So it's probably more like 2 to 3 million people really that have died on the Ukrainian
Oh yeah,
side.
they're the net numbers way because they have to pay out families if they're killed in action, so they're missing in action. Is how they classify that. So,
but I think those are the three options: either ending the war in Ukraine to focus on ending the war in Ukraine in a way that doesn't make it seem like a huge loss, trying to stop both wars from uniting, or the positioning for a tactical nuke on Iran. I think those are the three lead options. Then there's also the possibility of just trying to negotiate not having Russia attack the other NATO countries, like not.
Well, I mean, it could even be as simple as the CIA trying to get some of their dudes back that are in fucking jails now. So I mean, there's all kinds of
it could
because this wasn't like a meeting with Putin or something. This was a meeting between the two intelligence chiefs. So I've heard a bunch of things going around that there's a bunch of different reasons it could be.
I'm trying to find a map that can actually show the connection in the waterways. I'd like to see that.
Well, I know the Odessa port. I mean, they can't get shit in there now. So like,
well, now that's
Ukraine's kind of in a pickle, man. They're starting to have logistics issues and stuff.
I'm looking right now. So I can see, is there a waterway that connects them? You said where? I want to see.
I'm pretty sure. Ain't
it? Ukraine and
Iran. not directly. I apologize. So there's the Caspian
it's close.
Sea.
No, it's very close.
I was thinking Caspian and Black Sea connected. I was incorrect.
But where's Ukraine on the map?
I don't know if the U.S. is really in a position to demand.
Ukraine is north of the Black Sea.
So I'm super curious on why they were there.
And
they're not that far away from each other.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Not that far at all. It's so very, very close when you look. I mean, there's not
a
direct connection. When you go through one country and you get to the Black Sea from Iran, obviously, and then you can head up in there and get into Ukraine. I think it's more than that, guys. I think this is something really serious is going to happen. And I don't know if it's going to be Donald Trump being removed over here, and the CIA went to kind of went to let the Russians know what's going on. Making a major switch and whatnot, or it's the opposite end. Like they're going to remove Putin. Like Putin might be stepping out. I don't know. I don't think things are as good for Putin as people think they are. I think they've been suppressing a lot of stuff in Russia. There are reports that people are looking for gas in certain places, and like, how's a country that produces gas, produces oil, is having problems right now? Well, they've been doing all these. The drone wars have been getting in and hitting energy infrastructures in Russia. So I don't know.
I don't know. We kind of blow out of proportion what's been destroyed too. Because dude, within the last week, Ukraine shot like 1,400 fucking drones in. 8 got through, dude. So it's not like they're not shooting down the vast majority of these things. So, and that's a horrible high hit rate, dude. So, and Scott Ritter was talking about it. Something I was watching recently. It's a lot of what they're hating over there is like storage. So, I mean, there's going to be
this still going on, Sleepy.
No, I know. Right? It's been going on.
Wants to say like, oh,
no, I'm not trying to put a rosy picture for Russia. They're going to have shortages when these things happen, but I don't think it's as severe as we say it is, but I think it's more severe than the Russians are saying, is all I'm saying.
And so historically with Russia, like, and maybe this is the exception, but the longer Russia is at war, the better it does in those wars, because it's such a vast country. To mechanize all of that into war takes a lot longer because of how like spread out and hostile that territory is to just human existence in some cases. So that's the part that always like worried me, is you look at how Russia fought wars historically, and Putin's a big historical guy, right?
Yeah.
And as Russia fights, the longer they go, the more access to resources they have overall to mechanize war. So for me, it was like the US either has to beat Russia within the first couple years, like within the first 2 years, essentially, or this situation is just going to spiral towards Russia's favor, because they'll just throw lives at shit. Like in a historical context, more Russians died than anyone else in World War II, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the same holds true for a lot of the Russian wars, because they have just like their culture, I guess. But even if you look back to when like Napoleon,
they have an industrial base, like a proper one.
Yeah. Like they literally burned half of their country multiple times, like the front European part, just so that way, as people tried to encroach, they had no support. Like there was no fields to rob. There were no cities left. Like everything was empty, taken, and retreated. So like, I think that Russia is, and from like even the talk of the generals, Russia is being very controlled in this situation. Right? Like, I think that they're purposefully limiting how hard they hit and how far they try to go, because they have more firepower than the US as far as missiles go, and their target's closer. They don't have to go fill up a boat and take a 9-day round trip journey to restock and resupply to keep shooting missiles off a ship. You know what I mean? They can just produce the missile, ship it in by train, and launch it.
It's interesting, but I think that, a little bit of a different situation this time, right? And this thing has gone on so long. Yeah. And I think this is starting to really wear on the Russians. I think the Russian people are like, enough, man. Like, I think there's dissension amongst amongst the military ranks. We saw what happened with, what's his name, Prigozhin a couple years ago, or that whole situation, or.
Well, that's because they wanted to escalate. They
that
push harder and faster. So
Putin's the moderate here.
Exactly. I think the generals are pissed off and like they want to end this and go.
That's a fact.
Go all out, and Putin's being like pulling them back.
Yeah, and so I think that may be one of the big sea changes we see, and that could be part of what it was. Is Russia literally just being like, we're just going to go all out. Like we have nothing to lose at this point. We tried to play nice, because they already control the region they want to control, which is the connection to the Black Sea.
Yeah, well, now they're cutting off Ukraine from the Black Sea, and I think that at one point they wanted to surrender. I don't think they wanted to take as much territory as they took. It just came to a position where, all right, Ukraine's going to keep doing this, and the United States and NATO are going to keep doing this. All right, so we got to keep slowly advancing, taking more territory. At one point, and I believe this firmly, that Putin and the Russian Federation wanted Ukraine to remain the way it was. They wanted those Russian-speaking people inside Ukraine from the Donbass, because it balanced out the country, or at least they thought they can get back to that kind of like, old school style government. Who Yanukovych, was that his name? The leader who was run off, he wasn't like a hardcore pro-Russian. He even looked and saw the deals and explored deals with the Europeans. It's just the fact that the Russians are like, you can do business with us and you can do business with the Europeans. The Europeans were like, you do business with us and you don't do business with the Russians. And he was like, no, not happening. And they ran him off, And the thing that's really disturbing is that we still have this situation. So now we're going through all these politicians on the left who's going to be the Slim Shady and still stand up and be the president, the nominee, right? So now it's like John Ossoff is getting a lot of attention. John Ossoff is like every single Democrat when it comes to Russia, Ukraine. That's a serious problem. That's a pro-imperialist problem. I don't think people think they understand, especially the Democratic supporters and followers. They just hear that Putin hates gays, so they're all for this fucking war. and they don't understand how awful of a problem this is, right? The doomsday clock, which is a measure of how close we are getting to nuclear war, keeps getting closer to midnight. It's a very bad situation, and it's upsetting to me that the synthetic left in America can't take their head out of their ass. By the way, guys, this is Drive Time in the Morning. I'm here with Andrew Ziegman. Of course, Sleepy J is on the ones and twos, and Gabrielle Freedom's holding it down. She can show you all the ways to help the show, and so they're in the description as well. Good morning, Lady Alex. Good morning, Fred Edward. Good morning, Dave. Good morning, everybody. It's pretty awesome to wake up with you all. Blood Moon was last night. That means we're going to have some crazy calls today. Not crazy callers, but just crazy conversations. Call in 561-247-2721. It's 561-247-2721. The last couple of days, we've been having a lot of phone calls. It's kind of cool. We've been getting close to 6-7 calls. I went over the other day by like almost 15, 20 minutes because there was callers there. Can't do that anymore, guys.
That was probably my fault. That was like Tuesday or Wednesday when I called.
Yeah, well, you were just one of the 7 callers. That was a fun. It's awesome that you were listening and watching and then got to call in. It was like, hey, what's going on? It's Andrew Ziegman, everybody.
As long as I don't oversleep, I watch pretty much every show.
That's
I
awesome.
Get up at like 8:30 and then like just fucking zombie mode till 10.
Yeah.
But
well, today was one of those days. So I was talking to my friend. He's like, man, I got to get up 5 o'clock in the morning for my kids, get them to school now and stuff. He goes, I'm not a morning person. I'm like, I'm not a morning person, and I got a morning show, so don't feel bad.
Right. No, I'm the opposite of a morning person for real. I would rather stay up till like 2 or 3 and get up at 10 o'clock.
Me too. You
know?
Me too. I'm that person. I was always, but I one of the reasons, like I said, to start this show was to break that mold, to make myself early bird gets the worm guy and wear sunglasses. So, you know what I'm saying? Let's break those habits together. No more late nights, Andrew. Let's get to sleep.
No, I haven't been. So I turned 35 this year, and I just feel old, man. Like I was sick for the first month I turned 35. If I stay up till like 2 and I don't chug 2 bottles of water before bed, I just wake up with a fucking migraine. Like I'm old, man. I'm old.
Speaking for the older people in the chat right now, shut the F up, Andrew. You're 35.
No, I get it. 35 is when I started slowing down. But I had health problems, so I had an excuse.
Yeah. No, so I turned 30 during the Assange movement, and I felt that fucking energy drop, you know? Like I'm 29 to 30, I was like, oh, God. And now it's like I fucking trying to, like, swim through Jell-O or something.
Dude, I feel like we went through 20 years of effort in 5 years, so.
Oh yeah. That. Yeah, for sure.
The Assange movement?
Mm-hmm.
It was so symbolic on top of things. Like people really should have. I really wish they would have guessed or guessed. I really wish they would have understood what was going on, the importance of that whole movement. It's also something that we should be talking about right now because we still have a lot of political prisoners. Yep. Mumia is one of them, right? Like, I mean, there's still a lot of people who are locked up, and I mean,
Joshua Schultz is still in prison, or Schultes.
Schulte, I think.
And that fucking breaks my heart, you know, because that dude's in the same prison that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself in.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, it haunts me to this day, the fucking open letter that he wrote to the judge about his treatment there, how they were literally, like, dragging him out, putting him in a dog cage outside, butt naked for fucking 4 hours to meet with his attorney, making him piss and shit in bags and stuff, like. And then to just have no one talk about that when they talk about Epstein. You know what I mean? Like, not that the two are related in, like, content, but that the context of the Manhattan Correctional Facility is like, this is what this prison does, so how does this happen? You know what I mean?
Who are you talking about now so we can explain to the audience? And by the way, we need a caller, 561-247-2721.
Joshua Schulte is the person accused without evidence of leaking Vault 7 to WikiLeaks.
Yes. Okay. And I know who that is.
And he had his own personal, like, he was literally like a top hacker spook for the CIA. Like, he was one of the people that, if you know what signature reduction is, he would have been a signature reduction agent, like hacking things in live real time, developing all of the hacking tools for the CIA, had access to the all of the classified and unclassified but top secret hacking tools, like all of the 0 days and exploits and things that they use to like get into people's phones and computers and cars and all of that. Like, he's the one accused of giving that to WikiLeaks. But in his court case, the prosecution had to admit that they have zero evidence, connecting him to WikiLeaks at all. There was no communication. There was no evidence that any of this got transferred by him or from him. And they said that when they got access to his server that he had at home, which, I mean, if you're a fucking like top spook, you probably have your own for fun server. And they said they didn't find any evidence of him hacking into any of these softwares, but they found child pornography.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they didn't find any evidence of the hacking tools. And literally in federal court, right, the prosecution argued the lack of evidence is evidence of the crime. And that was just accepted. That was like, okay, well, the lack of evidence is why he's guilty. And that's something that, like, most people don't know, that ruling happened like that. And it's just heartbreaking. You know what I mean? Like, not that
Vault 7, I think, was more, once that got out, was more embarrassing than collateral murder at one point, because I think it's just really...
That's why they took his ass out of the embassy. Let's be real.
Yeah. And they can't even prove that it was, like, literally in court, have no evidence to prove that it was him. And there's a high likelihood that it wasn't, but they just wanted to stitch somebody up. They wanted to have...
They wanted their pound of flesh, man.
Yeah, because he was like I would even say he's like almost autistic in a way. Like, if you go back and look at like the shit that he did, he was like a super goofball. Like, there were days where he would bring fucking Nerf darts to the office and just fucking shoot everybody with Nerf darts all the time, like involuntarily. Like, people would be like, "Fucking stop," and he would just be like Nerf gunning them. And
speaking of Nerfs, we got a Nerf on the phone, so let's take our first caller. This is Drive Time, episode 66 today, by the way. 66. Blood moon yesterday, 66 today. Thank God we aren't at 666 yet. We'll get there eventually with your help, guys. All the ways to help the show are down below. Caller, who are you and where are you calling from?
It's Dave from Melbourne, Pasta.
What's going on, Dave? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm getting over a bug bite infection of some kind. I hate the bugs down here. But hey, man. Hey, Andrew. How you guys doing?
Morning, buddy.
By the way,
so you guys were talking
really quickly,
about
Dave,
Russia.
Before we get to that, Dave, I think I've been seeing some red agames around here. That's how you say it.
Oh, yeah?
Right? I got a picture
super fast
of one.
and multicolored.
It's got like the redness in it. Like, I was like zooming in. I have a picture. I'll probably put it up in a little bit. I got to find it on my phone. But I was like, that's the fucker Dave's been talking about right there. Look at this little bit. And he was quick. He was fast. When I went over to him, he was out of there. He was gone. So I think I know what you're talking about.
To catch.
Yeah.
We got a big one.
The lizard colonizers are making their way down from Melbourne to over here. But go right ahead. I know you were going to talk about Russia, and this is going to be interesting because I think a lot of people have always talked, right? Is Russia and Putin part of the World Economic Forum? There's a lot of shit going on over there right now. A lot of people do not like. I got friends who live there, and it's like enough is enough. But please, crack at it, buddy.
All right. So, we got a timeline here that goes all the way back to Obama, at least in terms of Ukraine and Russia. We got the 2012 NIH grants with Peter Daszak and Anthony Fauci starting the biolabs. Also, Gates was involved with that. And we know Epstein had some involvement and influence there from the Epstein files emails as well. But we've got at least 46 transhumanist neo-Nazi biolabs we know blowing up around 2013 and 2014. Then we got the Maidan coup, where they killed approximately 16,000 Russian-speaking Ukrainians just for speaking Russian or having Russian names, you know? And all those bodies went to the transhumanist biolabs. Those are American sins right there. And by 2017, Putin had presented his findings before the UN, and Medvedev was just chomping at the bit to shut down Ukraine to mainly stop these biolabs. Because when you realize what they're doing with human beings and that they run on human beings, it's enough to anger you. Well, the RT documentary Inventing Ukraine showed that there were several viruses released from those biolabs. Ebola, I think there was an E. coli strain. No, there was a cholera strain. And there was at least one COVID-19 strain released. And that was in 2018 to 2019. And there was a COVID-19 outbreak around that time in Ukraine. And the whole time America's lying. Well, we don't have no biolab. We ain't got no biolab. This is just a crazy left-wing conspiracy. But now we know the truth. So, yeah, our government just needs to stop in Ukraine, stop funding neo-Nazis, stop bipartisan supporting neo-Nazis with all the weirdos in the dialogue list. And that's where I'm at with it, because this needs to stop. You know, the people that voted to return to Russia should be allowed to return to Russia.
Yeah. Crimea mainly, right? And Sicily, then the Donbass followed in behind. But how do we convince the people over here, Dave? Like, why are people so, I don't know. It's ridiculous to me to see the way, and I get it. We're the land of low-informed voters. And I'm not so much talking about how they vote, but what they think, what they support, the rhetoric, you know, I get the team sport mentality will make you go one way, but the left is supposed to be somewhat like kind of connected and what's the word I'm looking for? When, you know, they're supposed to be envious of what the USSR did as far as when it comes to their labor movement or whatever, right? I mean, we can talk about it up and down. Was it right? Was it wrong? What's going on and everything like that? But, you know, even Bernie Sanders at one point, he went and visited Russia. Now there's this disdain for Russia. Where the heck did that come from?
I mean, when I grew up, everyone hated Russians. I don't think that ever went away, Pasta.
That's McCarthyism. It was programmed. It was a Zionist psyop, and it was the Hezbollah of its time. And that McCarthyism is so powerful, it even affects peace-loving hippies that I grew up with, like genuine Grateful Dead listening, freaking hillbilly hippies. And they still support Ukrainian neo-Nazis. You can't get it through their head. I think part of it was the CIA mind control asset in their case, but they attacked us from every angle and then jammed McCarthyism down everyone's throat because they were trying to distract from the church committee, finding that, you know, Israel basically had controlled our entire government and had possibly killed JFK in the late 70s. You know, this is when the Iran-Contra stuff started blowing up, and, you know, we kept funding them. We didn't stop arming the Iran-Contras after that. And I mean, we have been the ones, you know, creating the radical terror that we scare our people about. We create these terror cells, whether it be the Taliban, the Mujahideen, the Shah, whatever, Saddam's reign, and we put them in. Look at these evil guys. We got to go kill them. And we just kill everyone in between them and us.
But when you
you can't run transhumanism without bodies.
When you hear the conservatives talk about, you know, the left is a bunch of, you know, communist, socialist lunatics, and maybe, Andrew, you can get a stab at this. I get that the McCarthyism is set in deep, but if there's supposed to be any love for Mother Russia, I would have thought, if you look at our society on paper, it would come from the left, right? Like, I think so many things changed when the party of Clinton, you know, when Bill and Hillary, when they thought they had Russia, right, with Boris Yeltsin, and they got back in there, and like, great, now we can get all our buddies and let them know that we're going to be able to balkanize this fucking place again. But then some oligarchs and some of the hardliners brought in Putin, and it changed their whole plan. That's that disdain for Putin. I can understand why the party feels that way, right? Because they lost out on their chance. You remember those pictures of Bill and Hillary walking with the mink coats on in Moscow? It's like, we got these motherfuckers finally. Like, so many people have been talking about balkanizing that country for so long. Andrew even talked about they would burn down part of their country and be like, you're not taking us. Here you go. They found a way to get in through the door, almost like the vampire who got invited in the house. And now you can understand why they are disgusted from a political party's point of view, but why are the people pissed off on the left at Russia? That's the thing I cannot understand.
Well, I don't really get it either.
Well,
but so I guess my reasoning would be that I see the left as like the artificial synthetic left as a construct of the Central Intelligence Agency, right? And the Central Intelligence Agency overthrew Ukraine in 2014, spent the next 10 years weaponizing it with like the biolabs, building military bases all across the country, fortifying literally the place that Russia is attacking. So I think that has a lot to do with it, is the thought leaders who you would think, like the communist thought leaders that would support the old USSR, are controlled by the Central Intelligence Agency. And that war is literally a war for CIA dominance in that area. That's like when they say when Russia says they want to denazify Ukraine, what they're saying is they want to reduce the CIA's influence in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
I get that, but that's the party apparatus. Why are the people, like Bernie Sanders went and visited Russia at one time, and I get like there might be disagreements. I can't wait to have this conversation, Dave. It's a decent ride from Melbourne up to Orlando, so we'll have a lot of great conversations about this. But you know what I'm saying? I understand why the party's there. I understand why the CIA is there, and that merger of the left, right, the party. Chuck Schumer. You mess with the Central Intelligence Agencies, they have 17 ways till Tuesday to screw you. That was my Chuck Schumer imitation. But why are the people? Because they used to represent labor. And if there was a labor movement in our modern time, I'm 53, Andrew, 35, you asshole. It was a labor movement. At least they pretended like the Democrats were part of the labor movement. Dave, go ahead and try to tackle this.
Yeah, no, Zygmun's 100% right. Great take. They got a lot to cover. But think about it this way, too. This is the same group that gave us the I'm with her campaign when Bernie Sanders was running. Like we easily could have had the Democratic ticket if it was just Bernie and they left I'm with her on the side.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it, honestly, for these people that have, made bad choices for themselves, embraced transhumanism from the left, which is, visibly grosser than transhumanism from the right. They have to double down. They've already ridiculed themselves. They've already made influencers of themselves. Some of them have grifted entire, careers off of this, especially on the right now. They're trying to rehabilitate Hunter Biden. For Christ's sake, you've got a sex trafficking, crack smoking nut job, who needs to be investigated for Burisma, and both sides are covering for them. The right won't even use it as a gotcha, and that's how you can tell they're unified on Ukraine. Like George Carlin said, when they agree on something, that's when they're really getting ready to fuck you. So they're planning to redirect all their forces to Ukraine, give up on Israel. There's millions and millions of people abandoning Israel right now, coming to America, invading Italy, invading Greece, invading where they haven't been banned from. So yeah, they're in frantic stage. They're losing every military battle at this point. And if the biolab activities actually get exposed for what they are, there will be massive calls for Nuremberg from both sides. I mean, there will be open fistfights on the floors of Congress where they're concealing them now. But once the information about what really happened at the biolabs, how many kids they used, how many stem cells they harvested for this, how many viruses and bioweapons and weaponized bugs come out about the biolabs, that's really what they're trying to cover up on both sides, because both sides have been unified in this. Obama started it, Trump supported it, Biden continued it, Trump's still continuing it. We haven't defunded the biolabs yet, so there's the evidence right there.
I get that. And I want to hear from Sleepy. Sleepy, because you've been on the ground. We've been out there before. Why are the people following this? Everything that he said is 1,000% true. Everything that Zygmunt said. I love that, Dave, by the way. Zygmunt, he was right. Everything that Zygmunt said was true. Everything that Dave said was true. But we understand that's the party apparatus. How come, and is it just the team sports mentality?
Yes.
The Democrats, the progressive, how come they're following this shit?
I mean, look, dude, when Obama came out and was able to fucking put the anti-war people to sleep by just saying, we tortured some folks. I knew it was done. These people have no fucking brains. They just go with whatever these assholes tell them, and it's just gotten worse.
Did you hear Sleepy's imitation? We tortured a few folks.
I love it.
Barack Obama. We tortured a few folks. We bombed people without any warrants, right?
I mean, this is what happens when you don't prosecute war criminals and you put a pretty face on it. Is the people fell in line. I still don't understand why. Like, I don't understand the why, but I definitely understand that that's what happened, and it's just continued.
I would appreciate it if somebody would come to me like, listen, well, I don't agree with the Democrats, and I don't agree with the party leadership on Ukraine, but, we're mitigating damage. We're picking the lesser of two evils over here, and, the Democrats still stand for labor a little bit more and are not as racist as the Republicans.
And there's
so I'll
been
turn a blind eye on the Russia-Ukraine situation. Instead, they're saying, no, Ukraine, we have to support them in fighting for their sovereignty. It's like, dude, do you not know what the fuck is going on over there? Go ahead.
Well, I would like to add, a lot of that is the online quote-unquote left. Like, a lot of normal people that I know, they know nothing about what the fuck's been going on in Ukraine and Russia. So it's a lot of people don't know
they're ignorant to it, but they're getting behind it.
So
I mean, I guess.
I think, and just to like kind of spitball an idea, is people see Ukraine not the same by any means as Palestine, but in like a similar vein, right? Because like the whole political thing is you have the Ukrainians who were invaded that is having their land seized, is being imperialized in so many words by Russia. And so they believe that they're the anti-imperialists. So they want Ukraine to win, but they also want Israel to lose. If that kind of makes sense. Like,
all right, let's give the last 60 seconds.
The most like simple-minded, like, oh, they are being invaded. That is bad, without any context or any like understanding of the larger why.
That's by choice too, as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just. I was gonna say something. I lost my train of thought, but let's give the last 60 seconds to Dave, because Putin, I know what I was going to say. Zelensky and Netanyahu just had a conversation, just met. So how are you comparing Gaza and Ukraine when Zelensky and Netanyahu are going, we're together, we are brothers of sorts, we are connected? I
think the fallacy is you're trying to apply logic to something that's just not logical.
Yeah.
It's let's give Dave the last 60 seconds. We have a caller in the queue. Dave, thanks for calling on in and saving us and being the first caller today, brother. We're gonna have a lot more times, a lot more discussions. But go ahead, take the last 60 seconds. If you go over 60 seconds, take a little bit more time. But unless you have something else you want to talk about, we do have a caller in the queue, guys. If you want to call in 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. This is Drive Time in the Morning. We're talking to Dave from Melbourne, Florida, not Melbourne, Australia. Go ahead, Dave.
I was actually going to ask which Melbourne. Because I was going to say that's not an Australian accent.
That would actually be worse than Florida. But yeah, to answer your question, as much as I didn't like it, there is mind control out there, and they use it with sonic waves and propaganda. I mean, that's why you have dun 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 at the beginning of things. And one of the projects patented with Fauci's development was monkey mind control. And whether we like it or not, at least 84% of our population has a sapiens gene that can bond to and react to. So, when then they're in that super excited gamma state as we are in 5G, we're not actually given time to think. And so it becomes easier not to think. And especially now that, Ellison took over TikTok and is encouraging the influencer brain and everything. And people can get paid to show for Israel and show for war. And You've got the most ridiculous people coming out of the woodwork, and it becomes so obvious that it galvanizes the people in a defense mechanism, because the rest of us are like, how can you think we're as stupid as that? Like, how can you actually expect us to fall for this shit anymore? Which is pretty much where everyone is. So I'm glad to see even, the dumbest people really are waking up to the fact that there's a problem. Like I say, if 3-time Trump voters can wake up to this issue right now, then we're in pretty good shape to start a new party and a new movement or a new country. And we can get that way through peaceful demand transfer of powers with at least 3% of the population. So that's even more hopeful. But yeah, we just got to really get together and start talking about it and generating the waves, because once the idea is out there, you can't kill it. They can kill all of us, but they can't kill our ideas. They're out there in the open, being heard, and people are listening. So I appreciate everyone who's listening, and hope you guys have a great weekend. And tripping over my own words, but thanks for having me, Pasta, and giving me a voice. And Andrew, you rock, dude.
Hey man, I love hearing from you, buddy.
Yeah, everybody loves Dave from Melbourne when he calls on in. It's he's got a great voice himself, Dave from Melbourne. And it is kind of crazy too as well, because as we try to get into some of the heads of the people from COVID issues, right, and trying to get people, convince people on the left, when I tell people like, hey man, if you want to really be an anti-imperialist, you also have to recognize what COVID is all about. I mean, it was a military operation. It was a pandemic. It's all in black and white. We have it, but they just dig their heels in deeper. And you say, what about Putin blew up these biolabs that were doing a lot of this shit? Oh, you're going to believe Putin? It's a shame the way they got this whole situation twisted.
Damn you, Putler.
Yeah, Putler. We love you, Dave. Let's get to the next caller. We're gonna peel through these callers. Guys, we want you to call on in, 561-247-2721. Like I said, this is drive time. It's your time, your voice. You can see Dave just brought truth to power. Why don't you, it's very liberating to call this show. So liberate yourself and call us. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey, man, it's Jay from New England. How you doing, brother?
Jay from New England. What's going on?
Hey, man, we're doing good, man. It's good to see you, Pasta. It's good to see you, Ziggy. And it's good to hear Dave down in Melbourne. I haven't been down there since like 2013 to see my boy Alex when he got married. So it's good to see the whole East Coast is lit up with awareness.
Definitely. It's Jay Johnson, right, baby?
Yes, sirree.
Good to hear from you, buddy. He said New England. What part of New England?
Connecticut.
Exactly.
I know this one.
All of it.
I can't stand the Patriots. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, neither can I. So, you guys are carrying some very, very interesting topics today, man. And I have to admit that I'm a little bit curious as to really what's going on with the visit from the CIA director there.
It's crazy.
I'm looking at it. I'm kind of wondering with the attack from Ukraine to Iran, which, the U.S. isn't even holding their stand to Iran right now, why they may possibly be getting involved. And the thing that's been kind of circulating around my head the past few months is with the expansion of Israel right now into Lebanon, it looks like probably Syria now that they've got the ISIS agent in there. Just constant expansion and constant development, beachfront properties. I'm like, with D.C. really detached, not being a state, are they really looking to move the leadership and higher rungs of power in the U.S. to Israel conjoinment, kind of like what they did with the NDAA, kind of like not necessarily going to move them there, but have more population over there, maybe adopt Israel as a state, more kind of conjoinment assets? Because I feel as though if they wanted to influx it like that, they would have to have niceties over there. They would have to have things for the upper class to really want to be a part of. And then that way they can dump the lower class of the Israelis and the Palestinians, whoever's left, and the lower class, middle class of the United States to be slave labor and work the data centers or whatever else with our polluted water.
It's interesting too, and I saw something today. And by the way, I'm going to add this to the I don't know if you're watching out there, you can see this. If you're listening, you can't. But we got up here from the RT. I saw something, Jay, the other day too as well. And this made me think, it's like, man, maybe they do need more slave labor here in the United States. A lot of people keep thinking that we're moving towards AI and we're moving away from human labor and we're moving more into robotic labor. But I don't know if that's the case. When I saw a bill, I think it was Tennessee, and I think it is, or is it Arkansas? I can't remember. But they're going to start arresting homeless people and putting them in, like, sentencing them to do work to pay off all their fees and everything from the arrest. So it's interesting.
Well, so an interesting note on that, right? They don't even have to pass a law forcing them into labor. Like, I think that's just to catch a headline, because you have the same amendment that emancipated the slaves transferred slavery to the control of the federal government if a person, to the control of government, not even the federal government, if a person is incarcerated, right? So I don't think that it's, I think that's just to, like, catch a headline, because homelessness is illegal in a lot of places, right? So I think that was just to kind of create a buzz, because they don't even have to write something that says these people are forced into slave labor, because the fucking 13th Amendment already says that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I do.
that's a great point, Ziggy. You know, a lot of people aren't aware of that, and I give kudos to the journalist who wrote that in there, slid it in there to kind of remind people or make them aware of that, because I think that a lot of people aren't aware that once you are a ward of the state, you're at their behest. You have to do whatever you're told. So not only does it give them free labor, but it boosts the head count for the prison industrial complex, so now they're getting compound leverage. So it's just more opportunity to leverage off of us, which is kind of what I was kind of wondering about the trip to Russia. Is like, okay, well, if Russia were to pull back its resources from Iran and just give over Ukraine, then maybe that was their way to kind of like, well, if we can just get Russia to let up, China won't be enough, and then we can keep growing our expansion program with Israel, and then we can just, us elites can go on over to the beachfront and we can
wrap it that Iran
little slave labor property.
Jay, I don't believe that Iran needs Russia to win this war. I don't believe they need China. I believe they can do it on their own. I really believe that. They've been preparing for this type of war, this drone warfare. Russia was getting drones from Iran. I mean, I don't believe that they need Russia or China. I believe Russia and China are helping out, you know, logistically and whatnot. I don't know.
I think they need their intelligence.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Well, for targeting, you need space-based shit.
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's just say they could. But many hands make light work. And so if you have allies, not only tied to the defensive strategies and offensive strategies, but also if pulling back will also mean pulling back away from the BRICS coalition. It couldn't be just one. Like the U.S. was like, hey, look, Ukraine, you have to pull back from these because otherwise the dollar's going to collapse. But maybe, you know, they're working on something with Israel on that too. I don't know. But
good morning, Intamin Bill, by the way. But I was going to say something too that's also very important as well. The Russia, right? Russia is kind of split in as far as their ideology where they want to go. Let's first of all, they're not. They're a socialist country, but they tap into capitalism, right? They have a lot of capital there in Russia. There's one of the guys who's in Putin's ear. One of his economic advisors, Kirill Dmitry. I forget his name all the time. Okay, invested in hardcore in the markets. BlackRock, always talking, trying to make these connections, especially he uses the religion to draw a connection. Like, we have our same similarities religious-wise. You're a Christian nation. You know what I'm saying? We have a lot of things that we're very much alike. Russia wants to do business.
We're birds of a feather.
Yes.
They've wanted to since the beginning of the millennium.
Russia wants to do business economically with the United States. And I still think that that's there. I still think that is, they can go along with BRICS. They can remove themselves. They don't need the United States, but they want the United States, Jay. And I think that's important. And somebody put in the chat that this is about the banks. The CIA was created by the banks. There's something financial that's going on in which the CIA had to go over and talk to the Mossad.
I mean, I hear what
The
you're saying, and I
FSB, not the
agree.
Mossad.
But at the beginning of the
Right.
beginning of millennia, yeah, they very much wanted to partner with the U.S. But in the past 10 years, as things have escalated, and with the things in the Donbass, and things have just gotten worse and worse, and so them forming BRICS before even the stuff kicked off in 2013, they were already kind of going the BRICS direction. They're already laying the roadwork for that. So I feel like at this point, if they're going to have a stronger currency system and they're going to be founding members, I don't see where it would be fiscally reasonable for them to really aim to do business with us like that anymore, especially knowing that not only they, but no one can trust our word.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Russian spy chief holds phone conversation with CIA boss, and he was there. So I mean, you go through this and you just start to wonder. I don't know.
Something's up. Something's up. But
Something's up, but I don't know. And it seems like really.
Well, so the CIA gets a lot of power from obscurity too.
Yeah.
So they could have been discussing something genuinely intelligence related, like who the fuck actually knows, because that's something that like the speculation of like what were they talking about, and then allowing beliefs to bubble up, and then do fucking like AB influence testing to see like, oh, do people think that we did this, or do people think that we did that, right? So I think that there's some of that in the background too, is the CIA just loves the obscurity of the entire thing.
But there's difference between talking through channels or meeting somewhere to go to Russia.
Yeah.
To go to Russia. The CIA. I'm kind of like, I'm startled. I don't know where this is going. And it seems like, England, Great Britain keeps pushing this whole situation, right? Like they want to they want to escalate this war, it seems like, right? You know what I'm saying? Even further than it's at. And now like the Russians are like, okay, like, are we going to see missiles from Russia go hitting inside Europe?
It could be, because Europe has no military, right? Like everything that the European military has is dedicated to Ukraine. And personally, I think the reason England wants the war to continue so badly, even to the point like 2 years ago when they sent Boris Johnson to interrupt peace negotiations, is because they do not have a military. Like for as much as an Orwellian police state that England is, they have a whole bunch of fucking boot cops, but they don't really have armed forces anymore. Like they're not the England that we heard about in World War II or World War I.
Europe in general doesn't have shit for troops.
Yeah, they have been completely occupied and demilitarized for 80 years now.
Yeah.
So like that's why the situation in Ukraine is so like important to them, because those are the people, right? Those are the nationalist forces that believe enough to send millions of people to die. Right, like that's like this is the first literal war meat grinder that there's been in 80 plus years. And you're not going to get the French to go and fucking die by the millions. You're not going to get the fucking Germans to go die by the millions. You're not going to get the fucking remaining population that identifies as English or Irish to go die by the millions, because there's no reason for them to do it. Like they may hate the Russians just from like a mild historical context, but like there's not the desire for those people to say like, I love England so much, I want to go die for it. You know what I mean? Because most of these European countries
have been
gutted, right? Like not that immigration is bad, but there's literally been mass refugee crises created by these governments that have brought in cheaper labor, forced their people out of jobs to the point that they're like, you can either be a drug addict or you can work in tech. Like that's about
energy is so expensive in Germany, for instance, that their industrial base is contracting like a motherfucker.
So they don't have anyone that wants to fight for them, because that's a huge reason that wars happen, is because the people are tricked into believing it is necessary for the survival of their country because they love their country.
Yeah.
And the English don't love their country. Like the Germans don't love their country. The French don't love their countries anymore. There is no, by design, there is no nationalism because it's been occupied. So I think that's the largest driving factor of why they have to have Ukraine fight, because the people that are dying and actually wanted to go into this war are the people who wanted to be Ukrainian. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? Like they had almost no immigrants at the time. It was like Poland, essentially. They were like, this is Ukraine. We are Ukrainian. We're going to fight to defend Ukraine. And then they killed all those people.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like the bigger globalist play, right? Like, I don't think it's necessarily, NATO versus Russia. I think there was a population of nationalists that we needed to cultivate and grow to destroy the nationalist mentality. Like, let's find every person that would be willing to die for their country and kill them for their country.
Yeah, I mean, those are great points. And to add to that, I think that much like the vaccine and the virus, I believe that warfare, especially since Rand and Operation Paperclip, shook hands, started using this as a resource warfare management tool so that, again, the people on the lower end, the low class, the middle class, get cold, and then there's more resources around the globe so that those with resources can make sure that they have the majority of it and control it. I mean, you got more mouths to feed, you got more chance of an uprising.
There you go. Guys, this is Drive Time in the Morning. We got Jay Johnson calling in from Connecticut. If you want to call on in, the number's 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. We know we're talking about fun stuff like Russia, Ukraine. We could be talking about serious stuff, about the renaming of Lake Ontario to Lake America, effective immediately from the president, the White House. Did you see this the other day, guys?
I hate it. I think
he's renamed Lake Ontario Lake America. I mean, is this guy? You got to appreciate this guy for the comedy he brings to the table.
Yeah. I think it's genuinely just a distraction. You know what I mean? It's like, we're doing bad, so let's fucking give some random shit to people, so that way they're like, yeah, fucking America.
Yeah, I know. And
right there with the Gulf of America. I mean, to be fair, I mean, we don't really know that the director of the CIA flew to Russia. That could be one more thing to distract us, throwing things against the wall.
Yeah, but they showed that there were American diplomats in Russia. They showed planes that were taken in and out. So we know that something took place over there. We might not know it was Ratcliffe himself, but I think we have enough proof now that that did happen for sure.
I think the negotiation is going to be the, hey, we'll give you Ukraine if you give us Iran. And then how I think that plays out, right? Because
they already gave him Syria.
So Ukraine is America's to give, right? Like, we cut off aid, intelligence, it's gone. Iran is not Russia's to give, right? Like there is joint operations as far as like intelligence and like, hey, this is where a base is.
Syria was though.
Oh yeah,
Syria definitely was.
And they handed it over. They gave it to the Israelis. But, now they're declassified as a state sponsor of terror, even though Giuliani used to have pictures with him with holding severed heads. And, that's that. Let's give Jay the last 30 seconds because we have another caller in the queue. And we got to talk about serious stuff about Lake America. You know what I'm saying? That's some serious stuff. Go ahead, Jay.
All right, man. I'm going to pass it over so you can talk about the fun things like Lake America. I love you guys. Sleepy, man. Drop me a line. I know last week you said that you have something for me. I'd be curious to find out what that is, man. So just give me a ring. Have a good weekend.
I've been messing around with stuff. I'll hit you up.
No worries. Hakuna Matata,
sure, Jay
brother.
Johnson. Great to hear your voice, man. Thanks for calling in, Bubba.
Later.
All right, so we got another caller in the queue. We got Andrew Zigman. It is Friday. We had 80 people listening in, watching in at one point. We're close to it. We're around 75 total, I think. But we got up to 80 on a Friday. That's pretty awesome I love the fact that this show is growing. And the calls keep coming, so let's get on it. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hello, it's Wesley. Calling from
We knew
Florida.
you were calling in.
So, I'm not going to talk about Lake America. That's
I know.
not happening.
I'm being sarcastic. I'm being very sarcastic.
But, you know, I believe Russiagate is real, but not in the way that it's been sold to us, because Jill Stein and Bernie Sanders and the Clintons all went to Russia in 2015 for a conference or what, and so that there's all that, and then the German, well, and that the whole media, who had control of talking points in the media, like they closed down a lot of things that people could say online about the election in 2016, but the only media that could talk was, you know, the what is it? No, not the New York Post. Well, the Business Insider was a big one on YouTube or on Facebook.
Yeah.
That was talking.
Business Insider did a hit
stuff.
piece on me, by the way. So
Business Insider, if you look into the Mav Roundtable and all that guy was working with Newsweek or with News Corp and Rupert Murdoch, and he got the rights to Sports Illustrated. The whole thing was, and that guy's whole thing was targeted online advertisements. So if, like, say you have two little leagues in a small town, two teams or whatever, or two schools with different teams, he could promote certain messaging to one team on Facebook aimed at those people, and then other messaging to the other team based on. So it was all media control software that he had written, and that's what the Business Insider thing was. And then there's a whole other. What is the other? Is it Newsweek? I think it is Newsweek, or what? It is a totally German-owned outlet that also was able to talk about politics. And so here you have a German company on Facebook talking politics, and we're going after Russia for their whatever memes that they made, and more memes were coming out of Ukraine, and that has been confessed. The CIA, the whole Maidan coup, that was all planned in advance, CIA stuff. And if you look at the first episode of Monk, there was a fake assassination in the beginning of that, and the producer was this guy named Zelensky, which is interesting. It was another produced fake assassination, for a mayoral race in San Francisco, which I just thought was funny, coincidence-wise. And then, of course, the actress who died recently was the baby mama of the boxer brother of the mayor of that same town.
All right, so let's unpack this. When you say it's not what they sell it as, what do you believe happened? You said, I don't know what the hell's going on. I was trying to find my the hit piece on Business Insider when I went to Nicaragua to explore their elections, and they kind of went after me, Business Insider. But what do you think happened? And by the way, Josh, Sleepy, is that another person in the queue, just so I know?
Yes.
Well, if you...
Okay.
Like the ruling elite and the money and the banks work separate from the fighting forces. We send our troops out into the middle of fields with guns to kill each other because we're cross-canceling people we don't want to deal with, pretty much, useless eaters or useless breeders, whatever you want to call them. And that's pretty much what they think at the lower classes. And so then but if you look at the upper classes, they went and had this meeting, and this is a year, it was 2014 or 15 that they had that meeting in Russia. And like the year before, 2013, they had that meteorite blow up over Russia, blowing out windows all across an area about the size of New York State. And so people, they were looking up to the sky saying there is a real threat there. Let's make more super bunkers around the world. And the rich and powerful and the bankers are all making super bunkers. And what they tell us is anything that they have to tell us so that we'll finance it. I think these data centers could easily be turned into heavy water manufacturing plants for nuclear fuel for generators, that they've told that they want to make for the data centers. So obviously they plan on making nuclear fuel, that they're going to have to do that everywhere. I don't, the data centers
they just allowed a private company to start enriching uranium here, some tech company. It's fucked.
Yeah. Well, and then you remember the Uranium One deal where, Hillary and Obama allowed for a Russian company to own uranium mining assets in the U.S. So, was the U.S. military paying a Russian company for fuel for our nuclear fueled fleet? Is that what was that a money laundering thing to Russia? Like this, you got to look at things in different ways because, it's puzzle pieces. You got to spin them a couple times before they pop into place. And so there's that. You got to look at the funding for the Trump Tower, Baku, right where they say Ukraine fired on Iran boat in that street of in that sea there. That's, right in front of Trump Tower, which was totally funded by people that were in the Iranian National Guard or whatever. It was like, it's all upper crust money and bunker building and hiding the facts from the people, and then manipulating them so that they march in their little demonstrations and get their elbows up and cluck like a bunch of chickens. But they don't. You can't look at borders because borders are fake. We know that. Yeah. They only apply to you and me. They don't apply to other people with Lear jets. Like Epstein gets to fly all over the place. That's how that works. And now they want to put cameras on us so that they can better monitor us because they don't want us uprising. That's what they're afraid of. We're their enemy. They've decided that. They've said it. They've said as much, really.
I agree.
And cops are just willing. Yeah. So we don't, we're in a bad place. And so you got to look at the whole thing in a totally different light and be like, what are they really up to? I personally think that all the money all the oil that was coming out of the Middle East from, supposedly Iraq was actually, they were saying it was coming through Kuwait, but I think Kuwait was a front for Iran, because if you look at Google Maps, you could see 3 huge pipelines that are each about half the width of a car lane right next to the road there going straight towards Karg Island. So that, how much do 3 huge pipelines of oil carry? Because they were selling it, they were moving it, they were selling it. And so the whole thing is a front. Everything it's such a layer cake of lies that they, you got to get somebody like Kamala Harris in because she'll stumble. You want to get people in there that are going to not do well because they're not on our side anyways. We've already lost that. So we got to put idiots in charge so that they can't keep their secrets anymore.
I mean, that problem took care of itself already.
Well, still a lot of people are not really paying attention. It's all, we're being, Nutlick is more in charge of our country. Woody Allen is more in charge of our country. Epstein is more in charge of our country in our foreign policy than anyone we've ever elected, or any of the people in our military, which totally means we are sunk. We've been cooed. We are not in charge. Our elected officials aren't in charge. We don't have a country. They met at Epstein's house. If you look at the video of Louis Black at Joe Rogan interview, he talks about seeing battle plans written up on a whiteboard with Epstein and Barack, Ehud Barak, and that whole crew.
During the Biden years, the entire espionage charges against Trump were because he took, supposedly, right, this is the story, is he took the classified information about invading and going to war with Ukraine, right, and then was storing it, or not Ukraine, Iran, Like he took all of the intelligence about going to war with Iran and put it at Mar-a-Lago or at his house. And that was like the crux of the espionage charges, where they wanted that information back. So I think the situation we're in is inevitable, because we are presented with an artifice, like a facade of what government actually is. And I think you're absolutely right when we say these people don't work for us. And I think no matter if it was Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, we would be in the same situation. But I think Trump was more necessary. And like, I sent Pasta this video like before we started the very first episode about Japanese imperialism.
Yeah.
The post-samurai, pre-World War II imperial Japanese takeover was, the military didn't have full control of the economy like they do here in the United States, but there were just elements of every military, at the time it was their army and their navy, that were trying specifically to achieve military goals in different places, independent of what the civilian government cared about. And the military would either assassinate or remove leaders that wouldn't just play along with what they wanted to do without even telling them what they were doing. And they would write, like they would enter into international agreements, and like similar to how the United States does, just as a way to buy time. And it didn't matter what agreement the government made, because the military was acting completely independent of it. And I think that's why we're involved in Ukraine and in Iran, is because there are different factions that want their own ends achieved. And Donald Trump is the person that they could get to put a face on all of it. Like when they go to war, when Israel literally goes preemptively into war, and Marco Rubio says, yeah, we followed Israel in, they need someone who isn't going to say, you can't do that. They need someone that's going to say, well, we're going with you. I'm not even going to ask questions, or that doesn't even know it's happening until it's happening, but is so egotistical that they will say, oh, this was the greatest decision. It's going to, only take this much time. And I think Trump has that personality, and they recognize that Kamala didn't, to justify their actions, because Trump doesn't want to look weak. Like Venezuela, I don't think that had anything to do with Trump. I don't think Iran has anything to do with Trump. I think it is not in spite of him, but it is him just being used as the face of outrage to justify these things.
See, and I totally disagree. Trump has been in on it since the 80s, since the Iran-Contra thing. If he bought the yacht off of Adnan Khashoggi for $80 million, and then Adnan got in trouble, then Trump got in trouble, and he sold the yacht to Ahud Alawi, who was going to be head of Saudi Arabia, and the Saudis, he was at the Four Seasons over the Mandalay Bay, and which was owned by Miriam Adelson, and they had that shootout, and then they took those, and that whole thing was, a ritual killing, basically. And
Khashoggi.
And so then they went, and Alawi got taken out of power, and ABS got put in power, and then Trump did that $40 billion sales bill for Boeing, and then the Boeing helicopters that were over the shooting at the Mandalay Bay shooting turn up, like there's these two little helicopters, the Bluebird helicopters or whatever, they got blown up in Iran when we were extricating the F-15 pilot, whose name or whatever, that was weird. And then the very next day, Trump's like doing the news conference with what's his name? Anyways, he's doing the news conference about the recovery of this F-15 pilot, and he talks about how they were shooting women right between the eyes during the hijab uprising. Well, what happened was they had just extricated the terrorist assassins from Saudi Arabia, and that because they crashed their plane, and so the U.S. had to go in and save them. And this isn't just my opinion. What happened? This is my read on Trump. And then the next day, he did it again when he's talking to like the 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds in the Oval Office. He's talking about how women are wearing hijabs during the uprising or whatever, were getting shot between the eyes from buildings and rooftops by these assassins. That's because he had just watched a video of it and was like reporting what he saw because he was proud of it. But it's the same people that were over the shooting in Vegas, I think. That's my opinion. That's my read on Trump, that he can't help himself, and no one pays attention to that. But I totally think that was a controlled, planned attempt. And so then you look at how the secondary thing this last time between the last prosecution of Trump, he got tons of free airtime on the news because he was being prosecuted. It only cost him $260 million, which Merriam paid for his legal bills, and with Lutnick being his representative or whatever, and they were totally got all this free press. That was his campaign, driving back and forth in a fleet of cars and flying in on the Trump airplane for this trial, and that was a whole campaign right there for $260 million. Super cheap election campaign, free advertisement. And then somebody else picks up the ticket, he gets elected, and gives them everything they want.
And I think
these are
like to agree with you on that point. Trump wasn't popular, right? Like coming out of the Biden era, Trump wasn't popular. And without all of the litigations and prosecutions, Trump would have just basically faded into non-existence, and we'd probably have Ron DeSantis right now as president.
Yeah, probably.
Let's put a bow on this, because we do have callers in the queue. We've been for a while, but go ahead, Wesley. Let's take the last 30 seconds and put a bow on this.
So now we're given it was all Saudis who flew planes in 9/11. That was all Saudi Arabia. And now Trump has given them all our nuclear secrets and all the nuclear information and like allowing them to produce fuel. And it's all the same people. It's all ABS. The whole thing is all, or whatever. Yeah.
MBS.
Whatever. MBS. Yeah. Mohammed bin Salman.
Who wasn't really the rightful heir to that position, right? Like he was part of the family, but he shouldn't have been the crown royal prince. But there was like a mafia style takeover over there.
But this has been going on for a long time, because if you look, the town of Fatima, where like they saw the Virgin Mary, Fatima is actually what is it? She's not the Virgin Mary. She was Muhammad's favorite wife, and this is kind of like the bloodline of Muhammad is what they're talking about. And it's the same tattoo on Diddy's back. It's sitting like the poster of Fatima next to Tucker Carlson in his studio. So that whole thing, it's the Black Madonna. And then they rebuilt Notre Dame, and all the presidents show up there for their inauguration of the Black Madonna's church. It's the whole, and then even King Charles said he was related to Muhammad. This is what's going on. It's still the same bloodline pedophiles. It's just like they're saying Muzzy, and people get confused by that, but it's the same stuff going on. So that's what's happening.
And Wesley did clarify that this is his opinions. We don't know what the hell's going on.
This is my opinion.
There's so many things that it could be and stuff.
This isn't even theory. This is like a hypothesis. I'm not a conspiracy theorizer. I start hypotheses, and then you got to work from there, because you got to start somewhere.
Love it.
All right, I'll let you guys go. Thanks for letting my thoughts on the world.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. All right, let's just jump right into the next caller, because he's been waiting there for a while. We don't want to lose him. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from? Yona.
DJ, hi, Yona, calling from West by God, Virginia once again. How you doing, my friend?
Good to see you, or at least hear you.
Well, when I first tuned in this morning, I kept hearing Russia being mentioned. And I always thought it was interesting, Pasta, that in the United States of America, whenever we're taught about the first Great War, World War I, we're taught that World War I ended for American troops at the Hall of Mirrors and the Palace of Versailles when the armistice was signed. What was it, November the 11th at 11/11, right? Armistice Day. Well, in fact, at that time, 2 entire American expeditionary forces were dispatched to Archangel, Russia, and Vladivostok, Russia. And the United States military, along with troops from England, France, Canada, and Australia, actually invaded and occupied Russia and trained the White Army for over a year and a half. And it's hard for me to imagine what American history would be like if Russia had sent over 13,000 troops to New York City, for example, in 1865 to help the North clean up any remaining rebellion in the United States and to intervene during our American Civil War. Yet that's what the United States did to Russia immediately after World War I. And I would venture to say that most Americans have no idea that the United States ever militarily invaded and occupied Russia at any time, much less held it for a year and a half, training a White Army to take over the country. As you know, Pasta, spoiler alert, the White Army lost to the Red Army. Anyways.
That I know.
It does surprise me, all the anti-Russia and Russophobia, and I almost never hear anyone mention the fact that Russia has been invaded and occupied by Western militaries before. And so I think that's a real critical context as to why Russia behaves the way it does. I think the United States would behave differently with Russia if Russia had invaded the United States for almost 2 years at the end of our American Civil War, you know?
Yeah, after World War I, after the Bolshevik Revolution, I heard the Rothschilds, or was it the Rockefellers, sent militias to guard the oil fields and stuff at one point, to try to make sure they took that back. Andrew's got something to say. Jump over.
That era was before the Central Intelligence Agency operated like it did, right? Yeah. So if we wanted to make an army, we had to send an army there to train and empower those people. It's not like now where you can just send a whole bunch of spooks and a couple advisors to go gin up revolution in a country. And so Russia had to pull out of World War I because of the communist uprising that happened, right? The Bolshevik Revolution ended Russia's involvement in World War I. And so I think that that occupation happened because it was the first edifices of the Cold War, right? It was like them being like, okay, do we want to, and can we work with these people? If we don't think that we can continue having a, positive or America being benefited by the communist state at that time, they probably would have just continued the invasion on, right? So I think that was part of it, was holding down that occupation, because at the time we didn't have the same level of covert asset that we do now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
I mean, it's like Russian sovereignty totally, completely doesn't matter at all. And sovereignty only matters to the United States and absolutely no one else. When it came to the Armistice Day and England and France putting tremendous pressure on Woodrow Wilson to send troops to militarily occupy the northern and western thirds of Russia, In fact, it was, as you already mentioned, it was the Rothschild bankers and the Rockefellers in particular with their Standard Oil interests in Vladivostok that forced the president's hand to go ahead and militarily occupy Russia. And we're not talking about just a few handfuls of platoons or just a few thousand advisors. We're talking about 2 entire American expeditionary forces, one with over 5,000 troops, the other one with over 8,000 troops. And so, I mean, it's a glaring admission from American history education that most Americans at no time are ever taught that we invaded Russia and occupied them for almost a year and a half, inserting ourselves into the middle of their own civil war, where I believe we had no business being. Regardless of what you think of communism or socialism or Bolsheviks or anything else, it's on the opposite side of the world. What did President George Washington say before he ended his first term as President of the United States? Don't get in foreign entanglements. Worry about this country. Yeah. I rest my case, Your Honor.
He did say, don't go out there searching for was demons and something. The United States doesn't need to go do that, you know. And it seems like that's the only thing we do now. That is our culture. That is our economy. It's just built completely on war and whatnot.
I mean, honestly, I planned to talk about other things, but I wanted to respond to all of the Russia commentary because I feel like the fact
you should tell Candace Owens what you just told us, right?
Well, I mean, because, you know, that is critical context, Pasta. That's why the Russians
she should know this shit
the way they do.
There's a group of people who are going around telling people that the Bolshevik Revolution was about Jews killing Christians. And that's what they're saying. And it's like, no, it was an all-out civil fucking war, right? And we had to remove it was a labor movement, and they wanted the monarchs gone. And here's the thing, what people don't understand. The monarchy there.
And the U.S. was on the wrong side. We didn't want the workers to have rights. We were there to help bash their heads in, Pasta.
Exactly. And the Tsar was some of European descent, right? He was the same families that they had in Europe. He was the Western Tsar, you know?
That's right.
Yeah. So they removed our guy.
I would just point out, you know, in the year 1920, when there was one particular massacre in Siberia, because we sent General Stewart and General Graves over there with these 2 armies in Siberia and Western Russia, Kamchatka Peninsula, you know, the part just above Japan next to Alaska that, what's her name, Sarah Palin can see from her front porch, right? So
yeah, we got Putin going on over there, and she said, Putin, what's he doing over there? And
but you know, as these armies are fighting, in June of 1920, there was one particular massacre where a bunch of Bolshevik miners who had been striking were confronted by Allied forces, the Allied Expeditionary Force, and wiped out. Well, ironically, or serendipitously, I guess I'm not sure which adverb to employ here, at the exact same time, right here in the state of West Virginia, we were in the midst of the coal mine wars. And after a number of massacres, the Matewan massacre, where the Baldwin Felts hired guns, fought it out with the sheriff, Sid Hatfield, who was later drummed up on bogus charges in McDowell County because a Mingo County jury wouldn't find him guilty of anything. They knew the truth. So they made him go to Welch, West Virginia, hometown of Steve Harvey, and he was murdered in broad daylight.
On
12 noon on the steps of the McDowell County Courthouse. And then you had 3 or 4 more massacres happen, and that led to an army of coal miners around Morgantown not far from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where the West Virginia University is located. Go Mountaineers. And all those miners, coal miners in the northern and eastern panhandles of West Virginia, in the north part of the state, they had already had Mother Jones. They had already joined the Union, Pasta. So what happened was the southern coal field of West Virginia was still company towns and hired guns and just constant massacres. The president of the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad, Collis P. Huntington, namesake for my town here, he actually built an armored death train with Gatling guns, and they would ride through coal camps in the middle of the night and just massacre coal miners and their families. And there was such outrage that led to all these miners tying red handkerchiefs around their necks and marching south. Most of them were World War I veterans. And so when they met the Baldwin Felts agents and the Logan County Sheriff, Don Chapin, on top of Blair Mountain, a local news reporter there in Madison, West Virginia, Boone County, at the Boone and Logan County line, he said when the miners came over the hill, it looked like a sea of rednecks. It was a redneck army. And that newspaper article coined the very term redneck, referring to these rednecks. And so what did the coal company do? When the heat of the battle was had and the coal miners were winning, they called in the U.S. military. And General Billy Mitchell, who had been coordinating with Russian expeditionary forces and biplanes, took one unit of his biplanes from Europe, came back to America so they could fly missions over West Virginia and use the biplanes to repeatedly bomb, B-O-M-B, bomb West Virginia. I think it's the only time in U.S. history when the U.S. has used its own warplanes to repeatedly shell and aerially bombard any part of the United States for like 3 solid days. I know there was a bombing in Philadelphia in the 80s.
Yeah,
that was an air bomb dropped from a helicopter one time. But I mean, it's interesting, the term redneck and where it comes from. The coal mine wars in West Virginia of 1920, the U.S. occupation of Russia in 1920. I'm talking about things probably, Pasta, no one's ever heard of.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, this is very interesting. Gary Knoll, I think.
And what's the common thread, Pasta? Yeah. The common thread is the U.S. military was a tool to be used as anti-labor. The military was called in to beat the hell out of the Russian workers. The military was called in to beat the hell out of the coal mine workers. At Ludlow, Colorado, military was called in to beat the hell out of them. When the Pullman Porter Black Railroad workers went on strike in Chicago, Pasta, once again, call in the U.S. military, beat the hell out of the workers. I see a pattern here.
Yeah, yeah. There was somebody who was saying the other day, too, as well, about the shot heard around the world, the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Like, supposedly, I guess he was leaning to be a pro-labor guy of sorts.
That's right.
That's the reason why. What have you heard of that?
Austro-Hungarian Empire. That's right. Okay. That is correct. And of course, when Franz Ferdinand was assassinated in Sarajevo, which used to be Yugoslavia, now Sarajevo, I guess would be Serbia? I don't know. It split a whole bunch of countries. I'm not looking at a map right now. But the point being, at the time, what was that, 1918, Pasta, when he was killed?
Around there.
Was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire under the Habsburg dynasty. And of course, that was a Rothschild thing. I mean, it's funny when we go back and look at these things, who actually had sway and influence over where the military is going to be deployed and financing and everything else. And that's the Rothschilds, who had sway over the logistics of the petroleum, oil, and lubricants that the military machine needed. Well, that would be John Davison Rockefeller and his Standard Oil Company. And And I mean, all of these threads tie together. And a big shout out to James Corbett, mutual friend of ours, who's done some really great explainer videos on so many different historical events, much better than I could explain on the call-in show here. But for those that are curious and want to learn more about this history, I highly suggest you check out James Corbett, a Canadian in Japan. Anyways.
Yeah. The World War I conspiracy video, I think, is the one that you're talking about in regards to this.
That's right.
But
you know
in the
buddy.
lead up to 9/11 every year, I rewatch like Loose Change, Shade, and then Corbett has like 3 or 4 different 9/11 documentaries with like whistleblowers and testimony and all of those. So like I absolutely recommend people watch fucking everything from James Corbett, for real.
He's solid.
Well, I will share one last thing with you very briefly because I want to let other people talk.
Oh, we got no one in the queue. You're good, man.
Myself, when I left high school, I had a scholarship to go to the Catholic seminary school. So I actually studied the Catholic priesthood for 1.5 years and decided I like pussy more than altar boys. That was a joke. But, then when I got back home, found out my parents are splitting up and everything's going to shit. Farm I thought I was going to inherit of 1,500 acres. My family tells me, cut it into tracts and sell it off because at that point I already had my professional land surveyor's permit. And so when a recruiter came down the hill and was like, you want to be all you can be, Yona? I was like, the only way I would ever join the military is if I got to use my languages. And he was like, oh, I don't know. You have to take a special test for that. It's the Defense Language Aptitude Battery, the D-Lab exam. I was like, fucking let's go. Give me the test. Well, I aced the test with flying colors. And so got back home, and my parents had this big talk with me about how they're splitting up my brother and sister, and they're going to be living legally separated, and so all this stuff. And so then I dropped the bomb on them. I'm like, well, I just enlisted in the Army. They're like, oh, my God, why would you do that? So long story short, I ship out to California, where I get, first I shipped to Missouri to do my boot camp at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And then I had, I think, like a 5-day leave between my BCT, my basic combat training, and my AIT, because my MOS, my job was interrogator and linguist, 97 Lima, 98 Charlie, U.S. Army. So after my little 5-day leave, I go to California for the first time, Monterey Bay, man, fucking stoked. And I finally get issued my books, Arabic, English dictionary and workbooks and, course. And so day one of class, I sit down and they pass out Arabic, Modern Standard Arabic Language Course, Book 1, Volume 1. And the cover art on my very first book is an illustration of the 2 twin towers with airplanes hitting each tower. Now, granted, on the back, it had the GPO government printing office number, and it had been printed 6-94. So that's June 1994. And there had just been a bombing in the parking garage of the World Trade Center. But I'd always found it weird, why are there airplanes hitting both of the towers on the book? And, this is, again, we're talking October of 1993 when I'm sitting in this classroom at the Presidio of Monterey at the Defense Language Institute, Foreign Language Center, Monterey County, California. So I didn't think anything else of it, right? Until September the 1st, 2001. And then, and then Bush is coming out saying, I had no idea this would ever happen, even though there were presidential daily briefings about allegedly Osama bin Laden determined to attack the U.S. with planes. Of course, we now know that was Hasbro from Unit 8200 of the Israeli Mossad. But nonetheless, the morning it happened, I was actually staking out the corners for the new Marion County Courthouse in Lebanon, Kentucky. And I noticed it was like an apocalyptic moment. All the traffic on the street was parking and getting out. Everyone was running over to the television at the gas station across the street from us. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I turned on the radio in our work truck, and they're talking about there's been an accident in New York, because this was, first plane had hit, and they're like, they don't know what's going on, right, Pasta? So I run over to the gas station, and I'm not in the gas station like 2 minutes, and the second plane hits the other tower, and then everyone's like, oh my God, we're under attack. It's not an accident. We're under attack. And then, all the stuff ensued later that day. But as soon as I saw the second plane hit, within 5 minutes, I told my brother, we got to go home. I got to get to my bookshelf. I want to find this fucking Arabic book, And I went digging through my military books that were issued, and I found the book. I showed it to my brother, and he about went crazy. I about went crazy, but,
Yeah.
It was like, holy shit, man. Like, literally the day of, both me and my brother were like, holy shit, this was totally an inside job. Look at my fucking Army Arabic book, bro. Holy
Revelation
shit,
of the
man.
method, right? Revelation of the method.
They
This is
printed
something
this
that
shit
Dave
8
talks
years
about all the
before
time.
they did it, Pasta.
Yeah. They tell us they're going to do it, and then they do it.
Yeah, man. It's literally right in our face, Pasta, isn't it?
Always. Hey, nowadays, it's just, what Trump has done, like, he's the next level of just being, and that's something that they say on WBAI in New York, the show I go on. They said the good thing about Donald Trump is he's just so overt about everything the empire's doing. I don't know. I feel like they're stewing up for something really, really big. And I don't mean to be an alarmist and stuff like that, but I don't know. I feel like we got dark days coming ahead of us. Something big is going to happen.
Well,
I especially think
very much so.
Yeah. I especially think the way there's this distortion when I talked about Candace Owens, and I talked about, that whole crew there, the way they kind of conflate the whole Zionist Jewish thing. Like, during World War II, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because you guys are your history people, it wasn't the Masonry Jews that were killed. It was the everyday working class, poor Jews that were slaughtered.
That's like the Warsaw Ghetto. Those kind of Jews, not the banker Jews, the ghetto
not
Jews.
Not the bankers. Yeah. Go ahead, Andrew.
Well,
you're correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So the in Nazi Germany, the Freemason lodges were burned, but I was going to say something, but I can't fucking remember what it was. It left my brain.
Well, was it talking about the everyday Jews that were killed, not the Jewish supremacists weren't killed?
It was before that one.
All right. You got to have a piece of paper and a pen, write down something.
I used to, but I don't even have a table.
Well, you're squinting. Maybe you had a little bit too much marijuana before the show.
Hey, I haven't smoked since
I really do appreciate that you disambiguate those terms, Pasta, because it is a critical distinction that can't be made enough times. The simple fact is, shout out to my friend once again, Richard A. Grove at Grand Theft World, and Scott and Tony and all those guys over there. The whole Zionism and colonization of Palestine is a British Rothschilds project. In fact, as I'm sure you know, the Balfour Declaration begins with the very words itself, "My dear Lord Rothschild." So, going all the way back to the 1830s, when Americans were putting our Cherokee people on the Trail of Tears, doing a forced displacement of our tribe from our own land, Gaza Strip. At the same time, in the city of London, they began financing the Palestine Exploration Fund and the establishment of kibbutzes and this whole ideology of Zionism. A land for a people without a land. And again, this predates the American civil war. And so Zionism and Judaism are two completely different creatures altogether. Zionism has tried to turn Judaism into a language and a race and an ethnicity and a nationality. But the state, the Zionist state of Israel, is not a Jewish state per se, and it does not speak for all the Jews around the world. And in fact, there are countless rabbis and other Jewish clergy who constantly speak out against Zionism. I know there's been a lot of hay made lately over Uncle Cenk Uygur's favorite nephew, Hassan Piker, making the comment that Zionism endangers Jews, and that's somehow conflated to him making an anti-Semitic trope, which is utterly ludicrous. In fact, it's very true, and many Jews will tell you that the Zionist policies of Israel does not make the world safer for Jews, and Zionists merely use Jews as an ideological and literal human shield, and we can see that in the recent combat between Israel and Iran, for example, where Iran's IRGC missile took out the American radar sites that are used to support the quote-unquote Iron Dome, which has ballistic missile interceptors. But the problem is Iran was firing non-ballistic missiles. So first we took out the radar, and then we're dealing with weapons that we have no defense for. And as a result, you see Jews all across and settlers all across Israel having to take cover in bunkers. And of course, there's now been, pardon the use of the term, an exodus, but there's been an exodus of all of these hyphen Israelis going back to the first part of the hyphen in their word. So the Italian Israelis back to Italy, the Spanish Israelis back to Spain, so on and so forth. And, there is, there's a huge sea change in public opinion now in the United States as more people are learning the history of infiltration of our public institutions and our private institutions in the United States by Zionist intelligence. And I think there's no doubt at this point the push to merge officially the command of our military and the command of our government under the Zionist state of Israel with Section 219 of the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we're already there, and to say it on paper is just to admit a fait accompli. I mean, it's
I just felt like it's already been going on.
Already run by the Zionists. It feels like. I mean, I know in West Virginia, if I say the wrong thing, I'll lose any benefits, and that's the case in 30-some states. You can't. You know about that, Pasta.
Of course. Listen, we're at the top of the hour, so we're going to wrap up the show, Yona.
Legislation.
By the way, I think Richard Grove was in the chat. If Richard Grove official was there, I think he was in the chat, and he was throwing some love to you, brother. So make sure you throw some love back to Richard Grove if you get a chance, man.
Woo-hoo.
Grand Theft World, right? Sundays?
That's right. And Tragedy and Hope, there's Autonomy College there in Alia Paratus. I really like the way Richard has a longer form show where he can do these deep dives and go through all of the gory details of these historical events and provide the real critical context, I think, to properly digest what's happening today.
He's awesome. And you're awesome, Yona. Thank you so much for calling in, brother. We're going to wrap up the show.
Well, I just want to shout out, I've got 2 shows that I do every week on the New Prisoners Network with the new number 6. Mondays, I'm up to about 160 episodes. I've been doing the Peasants podcast for 5 years, and it was Glory Jones and Richard Grove, that drugged me on the internet to begin with. Credit where it's due. And I'm also now doing a new show on Thursday nights called Get Backed Up with Denver. And we had a fabulous guest on last night. It was an American chemical engineer explaining nutrition and fake vitamins versus real vitamins and getting into organic chemistry. And so it was way over my head even, but we were definitely getting backed up. But big shout out to everybody at AM Wake Up, Steve Poikinen and Knights of the Storm, and love everybody. And especially love you, Craig. I can't wait to hang out with you next time in person.
Definitely. Give us the Yona yell, baby.
Woo-hoo!
That's Yona. We're out there. And stuff like that.
Love you guys.
Love it, man. By the way, Fred Edward did find me this here, the article from the Business Insider right there, if you want to go check it out. Nicaragua paid for American YouTubers to observe an election that critics say was a sham. What fucking critics? You assholes that didn't even go to the country to observe the elections? I don't know about this. I put it back out there, man. If anybody wants to debate me on elections and elections, the veracity of elections, if they are fake, if they were, I mean, I'd love to get ahead of, I'd like to get a hold of some of these smart talking people out there. I mean, you can see how I destroyed Destiny in Austin, Texas. That was Gabrielle Freedom, our executive producer, who got me on stage. They were like, no, we're locked out. Gabrielle's like, give me a week. A week later, like, you're on 2 panels. And Destiny was my dinner, lunch, and dessert. Andrew, let everybody know where they can find you, where they can go see more of your stuff. Maybe, find out who your barber is. Go to him, too, as well, and get the same haircut. Let everybody know.
You can find me on Twitter at Andrew Zigman. That's about, aside from here, that's about the only place I exist on the internet right now. DMs are open if you ever want to talk. I generally just talk shit. So it's fun.
Thank you, brother. We love you, and thank you for coming to the show. I want to thank everybody who called in today. Yona from West Virginia, Wesley from an unknown part of Florida, Jay Johnson from New England, that's Connecticut. We have Dave from Melbourne who also called in, and a special thanks to Andrew Zigman, who comes by on Fridays to drop the love. Of course, we got Sleepy J on the ones and twos, the engineer extraordinaire, but he's also a great co-host. We love it when he throws his mind and his thinking into the show. And, of course, Gabrielle Freedom, who gives you all the links to help us on out. Love you, Gabrielle. Appreciate everything you do for us. And I appreciate everybody else who's made the show what it is. Dave from Melbourne, Wesley from Florida, Lady Alex, thank you so much. Stacy, I see you. Friendly Brilliant didn't make it in today, but we love you too as well. And I don't want to miss everybody. I saw Knights of the Malta hanging on out too as well. Thank you, everybody else who comes in and makes this what it is. I am so privileged and just so happy that I get to do this, and I get to do it because all you beautiful people support me. So thank you so much, and thank you for supporting this show. So let's wrap it up. Look, as we wrap up today's show, let's take a moment to reflect on the importance of diversity of thought and the peace we can cultivate with our neighbors. In a world that often feels divided, it's our differences that can actually bring us together. Every unique perspective, every story shared enriches our collective experience and fosters understanding. Remember, it's okay to disagree. It's how we handle those disagreements that truly matter. Let's embrace dialogue over debate, compassion over conflict. When we listen to one another, we open the door to meaningful relationships. By engaging in our diverse communities, we can find common ground and build bridges that promote peace. So I encourage you to reach out to someone with a different viewpoint. Share a meal, have a conversation, or simply listen. Let's create a ripple effect of kindness and understanding in our neighborhoods and beyond. Hey, thank you for tuning in today. Remember, together we can celebrate our diversity and pave the way for a more brighter, more peaceful future. So until next time, let's keep the dialogue flowing and that peace growing. Thank you all again. We'll see you next week. This was episode 66 in the bag. I mean, we've been doing this now for like almost 3.5 months, I think it is. I can't do the math. If we did a show every single day during the weekdays, we'd have 70 shows. I know we missed 4 shows total. 1 of those was my fault. 2 was because I was moving. Another one because I had to go to the airport. So only 1 show did I miss. out of 70 possible. And that's pretty big. That's pretty awesome. And to wake up every morning and do this with you, and you guys have been just carrying me along the way, I think it's great what we have accomplished, and I want to accomplish more. So we're going to continue to grow the show. I think Gabrielle Freedom put inside the chat today that if you have a talent and a way you can help us out, please do so. We're trying to do as much as we can on our own. Poor Sleepy is up so late doing all these things. It's like I can't ask him to do so many other things. We were talking the other day about doing something. I'm like, man, I don't want to put that on your plate. We're already doing this here, and they're doing this right. We're doing this pretty much for like no money right now. So we do need to find a way to make a few bucks to keep things going, to get more stuff out there, to get more information. So if you can't throw a few dollars, what you can do is like and share the show. Let's get more subscribers. There's always ways to help other than financial. Blood, sweat, and tears from your emotions, your heart. That means so much. So thank you very much, guys. I love you all. I'll see you on Monday. Oh, by the way, I'm doing a Truth Wire today with Fiorella. She took some pictures of the blood moon out there. We're going to talk a little bit more about the CIA meeting in Russia. Danny Shaw is also going to come on with us. He's going to talk about all things what's going on in Latin America, the Zionization, the colonization of Latin America. What's up, Bubba?
I love that dude.
Dude is amazing.
I love his voice, man.
I've been with that dude in Brazil, in Nicaragua. That dude's the real deal. He speaks Creole. He speaks Portuguese. He speaks Spanish. He speaks Bronx because he's from the Bronx. And he speaks English. So it's pretty awesome, guys. Thank you so much. We love you all. That's it for today. We'll see you on Monday. And remember, peace be with you.